Captain Sulmus of Dol Guldur had felt uneasy for the last day or so. The comforting darkness of the Mirkwood he knew seemed like a distant memory. His head still pounded from the sunlight that had filtered through the trees, even as his company had slept in the small cave they'd found the previous night. Tonight, he squinted up at the tall pine trees, black against the moonlit sky. He rubbed his temples as he glanced round at his shield brothers. 6 of the best they were, tall, well-built and sneaky. The boss had insisted on minimal armor, just a helm each and a small breastplate. They carried daggers, small bucklers and crossbows. Sulmus led them through the trees towards the tree line at the edge of a road. He signaled to all to lie down in the undergrowth, then crouched and looked up and down the road. To the north, the sickly pale lamps of the bridge shone through the trees. Beyond, across the rushing river, stood the Elven King's halls. Presently, Sulmus ducked at the sound of galloping horses. From behind his bush, he watched a half-dozen leaf-eaters riding towards the bridge. As the sound of the horses receded, he raised his head and checked both ways. He jumped to his feet and scurried across the road, leading the others into the woods towards the river and away from the lights. They emerged from the forest downstream from the gates. Dark shapes slid to and fro across the spindly bridge far above the crashing river. Here, though, the waters were sluggish after the last of the rapids and falls. Small yellow leaves dotted the swirling surface. The orcs slipped into the water without making a splash. Only the tops of their heads were visible as they waded across the river. After they were all gathered, dripping and grim on the opposite bank, they moved silently among the trees. They stalked for only a few yards before the trees thinned and Sulmus made a signal to stop. The others were spread out behind him but obeyed his order in unison and dropped to their haunches. He heard Gal's footsteps from behind and his number 2 joined him at his side. The captain pointed at the movement up ahead, a solitary leaf-eater among the trees. The guard was loitering in a small clearing, looking up at the stars. Sulmus had the others stay while he crept in a wide arc through the trees towards the elf. He emerged from the darkness behind the elf and pressed his hand over the guard's mouth. He rammed his dagger into the elf's ribs and felt him slump in his arms. The last things the leaf-eater saw were his precious stars fading as Sulmus robbed the life from him. Sulmus gently lowered him to the ground. He patted the guard's waist and yanked the ring of keys from his belt. The door was set into a rock face that rose up to a high escarpment. Sulmus led the others, rushing silently through the trees. They pressed themselves against the rock at either side of the door. Sulmus tried 2 keys before unlocking it with a third. He stepped back and eased it open. Beyond was a small entrance chamber. Stone pillars like tree trunks marched towards an archway at the far end. The chamber was empty save for another guard. He started to turn towards the door. Sulmus withdrew from the doorway and stood hard against the rock. He glared at Gal and his shield brother returned a look that was full of silent understanding from years of fighting alongside each other. Sulmus could hear the guard's footsteps getting louder, and now, in his mind, he could see the leaf-eater taking one last step onto the threshold. Gal hooked his arm around the guard's neck and pulled him away from the doorway. With his other hand, he twisted the guard's head and broke his neck. The orcs filed through the doorway, moving silently across the chamber, then through the archway. Crossbows were cocked and held at their shoulders. Another guard rounded a corner. Surprised by the band of orcs, he fumbled for his shouldered bow. One of the orcs shot a bolt into the leaf-eater's forehead. Tauriel trotted her horse across the narrow bridge of Feriant, the forest river roaring far below. The gate yard was as busy as a beehive, as it had been for the last few weeks. March wardens and messengers coming and going, guards and sentinels on their tiptoes as furtive as sparrows. A guard acknowledged her with a wave, then half turned away.
Open the gates.
She shouted. Toriel's companions briefly gathered their mounts before riding through the gates. They crossed the inner bridge into the hall's bailey, a large cavern where white lights dotted the tall pines. High above, starlight poured through the partially collapsed cavern roof. The path rose and banked to the left, and Toriel's face became grim as she anticipated what she would see when she reached the brow. Thranduil's throne dais stood alone among rocks and pines, framed by the moon-silvered waterfall on the far side of the cavern. The elves dismounted, and the stable hands took their reins. As her companions dispersed, Tauriel walked towards the throne. The graceful stone pillars of the dais joined into pointed arches supporting a vaulted roof, thick with ivy. Thranduil watched Tauriel from his throne as she approached. His long, golden hair, held straight with a silver circlet, framed his stern face. Tauriel climbed the steps and bowed before the king.
My lord.
Thranduil gave the arm of his throne a perfunctory drum of his fingers.
You were due back yesterday.
We came across a band of orcs on the banks of the Ghoul here.
She took a step towards the king.
More and more have been seen east of the river.
They crossed the mountains from the south?
From the south and west. The march wardens there have spotted goblins from Mount Gundabad crossing the Anduin near Framsburg.
Thranduil frowned as he bowed his head.
I know what they seek.
He sprang up and met Tauriel in the midst of the dais before sidling off to the side. Tauriel followed him to the balustrade.
My lord, I suggest doubling the watch along the western marches and the...
It is already done, Tauriel. I have other, more pressing work for you.
Tauriel blinked, then lowered her head.
My lord.
You know of Boromir, son of Denethor?
Heir to the stewardship of Gondor. I met him once when he was a boy.
He's been seen in Rohan of late.
The king leaned on the balustrade and gazed across the cavern at the waterfall.
Indeed, he seems to be a guest of the king of the Horse Lords at Edoras. We think he might be traveling to Imladris.
Do we know why?
There was the hint of hesitation before the king replied.
We think the ring has been found.
Tauriel's eyes widened.
I want you to bring it to me.
You think Boromir has it?
Thranduil didn't answer. He stepped away from the balustrade. Tauriel followed as he sauntered towards his throne.
My lord,
said Tauriel.
Is this wise?
Wise?
I thought we were helping Mithrandir in this matter, that the ring, if found, should be yielded to him.
I cannot recall, Tauriel, ever seeking your counsel in this matter. Your task is to find the bearer of this ring.
My lord, forgive me, but why do you think that Boromir has it?
There are more spies in my halls than you, Tauriel.
He smiled one of his insincere smiles.
Ride to Edoras, find Boromir and watch him.
The king nodded slowly.
Follow him, gain his trust. I know you have a talent for such things.
Tauriel filled the ensuing silence.
Will Legolas be coming?
The orcs moved silently and swiftly along narrow passages. As Sulmus led the others round a bend, they came across another guard. It wasn't long, though, before he had a bolt in his chest. As the passage opened up into a large chamber, another Leaf-Eater raised a horn to his mouth. Gal was too late leveling his crossbow, and the guard winded the horn.
Legolas?
Thranduil shook his head.
He has other matters to...
The shuddering bellow of a horn interrupted him. He turned as Tauriel hurried toward the steps. The shriek of the horn petered out as Sulmus shot a bolt into the guard's neck. The band of orcs hurried on. At the far side of the chamber, an archway led into a large cavern. The cells of the prison were built into the sides of a small gorge within the cavern, connected by walkways and stairs. The orcs crept into the gorge from below, but they'd already been seen. Sulmus and Gal picked off the two guards before they could draw their bows. Gal ran forward and snatched the ring of keys from one of the guards' belt. Tauriel looked down from the balcony that overlooked the prison. She shot two darts down at the orcs. She watched as one dropped and the other caught his arrow with his buckler. These were no grunts from Mount Gundabad, she thought, as the orcs took cover. She leaped over the balustrade and bounded down towards the cells, bouncing off pillars and exposed rocks. Sulmus ordered the others to spread out along corridors and up ramps and down stairs, killing any guards they came across. They searched cells frantically as they explored the warren of passageways that led off from the gorge. Sulmus hurried along an open passage, scanning the cells to either side. The passage ended at a perpendicular tunnel where he paused, looking both ways. An arrow pinged off the stone next to his head. He twisted round and found the archer above the passage, about to re-nock his bow. Sulmus leveled his crossbow at the elf and pressed the trigger. The archer clutched his chest as the bolt hit him. He toppled into the passage. Sulmus grabbed a torch from a wall sconce and hurried into the tunnel. Tauriel scampered along the back wall of the cells in the upper passage. She'd seen a dark shape moving from side to side. 3 of the orcs were dead. The others had moved into the passages where the prisoner was being held. One of the orcs emerged from the cell below. She strode across the roof bars to get a better line and bent back as the orc swung its crossbow up at her. She danced backwards a step as a bolt pinged against the roof bars. She peered down at the growling orc, saw the line through the roof bars and the front of the cell, then loosed her dart. The orc started to raise its hand to pluck the arrow from its eye, but then thought better of it. It staggered into the cell door behind, then slumped against the bars. Sulmus hurried along the passageway, checking each cell he passed. He had the feeling that even if he had checked all the others, he was running out of time. He reached the end of the passage, noticed that the door to the left was ajar. He leaned against the opposite bars and peered inside. A pair of unnaturally large eyes glinted up at him in the torchlight. Sulmus fumbled with the keys as he tried to unlock the cell. He dropped his torch while he calmly tried another 3 keys. But there were far too many. The shrieks of the leaf eaters was coming closer. He dropped the keys and unshouldered his crossbow. There was a commotion at the end of the passageway as he started to load a bolt. He leveled the crossbow at the whimpering thing in the cell. He was about to press the trigger when a shadow filled the passage. He spun around, but it was too late. He felt a hard pain in his neck. Tauriel stared at the orc at the end of the passageway. She crept into the dark, her bow half drawn and expecting the orc to jump up. The guttering torch lay against the bars of the cell. The keys were in the lock. The prisoner, the thing they called Gollum, was gone.